Have you ever felt like people really just don't get what you do? Like you communicate about your projects to others, whether online or in person, through any network that you choose to engage with. Attempting to create engagement just doesn't happen. You feel like people just really don't understand what you're doing. If this is you, this episode is for you. I want to talk about 4 reasons why our messaging may leave others confused about our brand. So, we're going to uncover these 4 major reasons, and my goal is to help you understand why our brand messaging is unclear to begin with and the consequences of not addressing these issues. So before we begin, I want to address what is a brand. A brand is how customers feel and perceive your product to be or service when they interact with it. How people interact with you as a creative person determines how they feel about and perceive your brand. It is the relationship between you and who engages with you. So when you think about a brand, think about it in a sense of how people feel when they leave your presence. Think about it in a sense of how people feel when they interact with your product or service. What do they tell other people about you? What do they tell other people about what you offer? Whatever they're communicating, that is your brand. And that's the part where that's very important because we want people to know that what we have and what we offer is meant to help and service people in a way that's beneficial. We don't want any ill will or confusion or frustration about our brand. We don't want that, even though that there's things you can't control. But in our control, we want to limit those negative connotations as best as possible. So, what is reason number one? Reason number one is people struggle to identify what you actually do. If someone asks what you do and they're confused about your answer, you may have a brand clarity and a messaging problem. And this is not by title, it's by action. What do you do in service to others? If your audience can't easily explain what you do in service to others, this creates a roadblock between what you service and your potential supporters engaging with what you have to offer. So, an example of this is I remember when I first started early in my artist career, and I would tell people that I'm an artist, and I would give them my social media channels, my Facebook and Instagram, for example. And when they went to my Instagram, they would see pictures of me at my job. They would see pictures of me with me and my children. They would see pictures of me hanging out with friends in a sense where we were at a bar or something like that. But there was limited posts about who I was as an artist, about what songs that I have out, about my creative process. And I would see people engage with, those posts in reference to like, just as a friend for like a friendly way. So whether that was me hanging out or me chilling with friends or whatnot, but I would have limited engagement on the actual artist posts because I was confusing people. At the end of the day, what was I attracting? I was attracting friends. I was attracting people who knew me personally. I was attracting people who understood who I was as a person and not as an artist. And I would get confused. I'm like, I just put this song out and the streams are not where I think they should be at. And these were like all personal expectations, if you will. But the point is that people were engaging with the very things that I didn't want them to, and they were not engaging with the things that I wanted them to. And it was because I was being confusing and presenting myself in a way where I was a a friend to you and not necessarily an artist. So again, it's not on the person that engages with you because they don't know how to fully engage with you. It gives mixed messages, and without context, people will continue to find artists that reflects their attitudes and beliefs. The very danger of this is just people just simply don't understand what you do and how you're in service, and they probably won't remember you, and they don't know how to support your work because they don't know how. So that's number one. Number two, people are unclear on what you offer. Just because someone knows what you do doesn't mean that they understand how to engage with your work or what you offer. We must be clear about what we want people to engage with and what we offer and how people can take action. So, an example: purchase my new album, buy a ticket to my live album release show. We have to be extremely specific about what we're offering to bring clarity to our potential supporters. I remember talking to a friend of mine, and he's a musician, but he's also a producer. And he was confused about why people wasn't reaching out to him for his production services. He would always get people to hit him up about, playing with him, him playing in their band. And I said, okay, let's look at your website. Let's look at your social media channels. Let's look at all your touch points. And on all of his touch points, it was him playing with other musicians. It was him playing his drums. He was a drummer. He is a drummer. He's playing his drums. He is playing at other events with other musicians, and nothing referenced him being a producer. There was not one post that showed that he offered production services to artists. I said, there's your problem. If I was to look at this page, I would think that you are a musician for hire. And that wasn't necessarily not true, but what he wanted to project more was him as a producer, and he wasn't projecting that message. So, what was the danger of doing this? Missed revenue opportunities and career misalignment. He wanted his career to go in the way of being a music producer, not necessarily being a musician for hire. So, with him not being clear on what he offered, his career was out of alignment. And we have to be very clear in our communication on what we're offering so we can be in alignment with how we service other people. So that's number 2. Number 3, inconsistent messaging across platforms. If your Instagram says one thing, your website says another, your bio says something else, your audience won't know what to do and they can't trust you as a creative. These mixed signals make us look unprofessional, unreliable, and confusing. People just don't know what to expect from us and what we offer. So, say for example, you're a fashion designer, and on one platform you say you offer streetwear clothing, and on another platform you say you offer high-end wear, or on another platform you say you offer custom tailoring. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't offer these things as a cohesive package, but just say for the sake of argument, these specific statements are across different platforms and spread out and not in cohesion. People just don't know what you're actually offering at that point because the message is inconsistent. So it confuses the audience, and they don't buy and they don't engage with the brand. They don't know how or why, or they don't have a reason to. They move on to support other creators that are clear on how they're being helped. So again, when a person is confused, the messaging is inconsistent, they don't know how to engage, and they move and they look for people and creatives that can reflect what they need help with. So we got to be very clear and make sure that our messaging is consistent across all platforms. And the last, number 4, and the biggest danger with all of this is people simply just don't take action. If people don't know how to interact with your work and how it helps them, they won't engage. We've all seen artists who have followers or an audience that engages with their social media content, for example. They consistently get engagement. But then when they have specific in-person events, or they have shows, or they have something that requires people to take action on, they don't get the level of engagement or reaction that we would think. We've all been to those shows of artists, and myself included. I'm in this mix as well, where you show up to the show and you're like, wait a minute, I know I'm not the only one that's seen this. Why is it 4 or 5 people here? And you see the frustration of the artist talking about they don't, people aren't supporting them and engaging them. And then you look back and you think about it, they never gave a clear call to action. They never gave a very specific way to engage and support and come out. We got to be very clear about this. I know it sounds menial, I know it sounds simplistic, but that is a disconnection point between how we want people to take action with our creative works. If we don't clearly invite them, just for this as an example, if we don't clearly invite them to begin with or explain what they are being offered, they don't know how it matters to them or how it services them. So a danger in this is it creates a disengaged audience. It leads to low engagement and limited growth. It becomes missed opportunities that enhance and enrich your creative practice. And it continues to leave others disconnected with how they can support what you offer. So when people struggle to identify with what you do, people are unclear on what you offer, the messages and your messaging is inconsistent across your platforms, and we don't give people a clear call to action, this may be the reason why we leave people confused about our brand. Remember, our brand is how people interact and perceive and engage with us. We have to be very clear on who we are, what we do, how we're in service to others, and how they can take action. And in the midst of that, we have to make them feel good. We have to make them feel supported. We have to build up our trust with them. We have to know that the ways in which we're coming off matters and it's important to them. And we have to be very perceptive and very understanding of how we're being perceived, because that is going to determine how people engage and interact with us. So if you recognize any of these problems in your own brand, for the next episode, I'm gonna give practical strategies on how to help clarify your brand message to make it extremely clear and authentic for those you service, and to get them to take clear action on what you offer. Again, it has been a pleasure. I hope this video helps. I hope it provides you clarity. I hope it gives you the incentive to clean up and to make your brand message consistent across the board, so we can get people to take action, get people to engage, and get people to understand how our creative works serve them and meet and help their problems. Again, I'm Neak. I can't wait to see you back here next week. Be blessed.